Welcome, welcome. My name is Jillian and this is my January book haul. Just a little things about me. I predominantly read YA/fantasy, high fantasy, and the genres I typically don't engage with are probably non-fiction, biographies, etc. If you're cool with fantasy, if you're cool with romance, if you're cool with dark academia, follow me because I love that and I know you'll love that, and let's just be friends. Subscribe below and check out the socials too. You can probably guess what majority of this book haul contains, but there are variables to this, such as Trick Mirror by Gia Tolentino, which is a non-fiction book. It is a compilation of different essays that revolve around culture, specifically digital culture, and one's identity. I first heard of this book from Leonie from the book Leo, and she loved it. She said she's not into many essays and non-fiction books such as myself, so when she said she enjoyed this one, I knew I had to pick it up. So yeah. The next book is also a favorite book from one of my favorite booktubers on YouTube, which is Chloe, Book with Chloe, Chloe with Book, Books with Chloe, and it is The Little Prince. I know this book is a novella, which is just a fancy word for a short novel. It's about a prince who just travels across the universe and visiting different planets. It has very, very cute illustrations, and I don't know, I'm very interested to read it since it's her favorite book. So look, this little elephant underneath a mound of sand. Excited to read this one, and it also looks quite easy to read, so yeah. My next genre in this haul is fiction, and I had to buy it because it was all over BookTube, all over Book Talk. It was probably like the year of this book. So it's The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this is a powerhouse book that I've seen everywhere, so I don't think I need to describe why I bought this book, just that I will eventually get to it. The next book I have was suggested by my friends Phoebe and Lauren, and it's Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. And they basically said to me, Jillian, you need to read this before you move to the UK. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll definitely read it. So this book is set in Britain and it follows 12 very different characters on an entwined journey of discovery. That sounds great. Can't wait to read it. Moving along, I'm not really into contemporary romances. I'm more into fantasies that have a subplot of romance. Never a book that's solely romantic and concentrates on the two characters. But I was suggested Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert, and I'm excited to read it. It's basically about it's like a fake relationship scenario, which sounds pretty juicy to me. It has a lot of love from the community, so I'm ready to read some romance in 2022. The next couple of books are a mishmash of YA fantasy, epic fantasy, and all that goodness. So let's get started with Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This has been on my TBR for a very long time, probably since 2013, really, but I just haven't gotten to it. And it's basically a coming-of-age story of two boys just discovering things about themselves, about their identity and their relationships, and I think it'll just be such a feel-good read. Next we have Illuminae, which is part of the Illuminae files. I have been wanting again to read this for so long. I've seen it all over the bookshelves, and you know what? I recently watched Emmy's YouTube channel, her 2020 favorites of 2020 favorites video, and this was one of them, and I was like, that's the one I gotta buy, and that's the one I gotta read, because she has epic epic suggestions and recommendations for books, so yeah. And it's also pretty freaking cool. It has a mixed medium of content. So yeah, pretty interested in that. A book that was suggested on my For You page probably 100 times was Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. And it's been loved by Book Talk. It's basically a YA fantasy, I believe, following what? Fantasy. Political strategy, which is like a bit of war element to it. And I think there is a steamy romance, so very excited. Speaking of TikTok recommendations, this Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. This has also been on my radar, and I'll just read you the top line of the blurb. It says, 2 sisters, 1 murder, a quest for vengeance that will unleash hell itself. And if that's not enough for you to read this book, I don't know what is. These two, I think, will be an incredible comfort read for me, something that's in my wheelhouse and I will probably devour very quickly. The next book, or books, is His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. My friend has been telling me to read this book for years. So this hardcover book basically has all 3 books within it. Northern Lights, The Subtle Knife, and Amber Spyglass all in one. So I will probably just only read the Northern Lights first and see how I enjoy it, but I've heard that it has a magic system that has magic, science, theology, polar bears with armor, witches, and that is my sweet spot. I can't wait to read this. I trust my friend's recommendation a lot, so yeah, I'm gonna read this. It definitely seems like a winter read. It's currently summer in Australia, and I think this is best off at very chillier weather. This book is another coming of age story of 2 kids as they traipse from universe to universe. Next is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. Was another recommendation from the book Leo that I just realized. She loved the trilogy and I trust her recommendation again. It's basically an incredible fantasy world built on war, betrayal, death, and it sounds bloody awesome. It sounds sick. The next 2 books I found on Facebook Marketplace for $8 dues when one basically costs like 20 bucks. I found Patrick Rothfuss, The Name of the Wind, and The Wise Man's Fear. I was so stoked to find these on Facebook Marketplace. And the spines aren't even cracked. Like, the lady said, she was like, oh, I got them but never got to it. And I was like, score. I prefer not to know a lot about the books that I'm going to read. I feel like a lot of booktubers on here know a lot prior to entering a book, but I'm definitely not that person. I want to be surprised. I kind of want to go in blind and not have anyone's opinion taint my perception of the book, basically. And all I know is that we follow a wizard who is like the best wizard in the lands, and we basically follow his story, and they're pretty chunky books as well, so exciting. The last book I have is The Priory of the Orange Tree, and it's so gorgeous, by Samantha Shannon. Basically a major epic fantasy, and the blurb just says, a world divided, a queendom without an heir, and an ancient enemy awakens. Gorgeous. Beyond gorgeous. That is the end of my book haul, and I don't think I'll have one for a while, because that's a lot of books for me, and my reading goal is only 25, so we'll see if we get to all of these this year. But make sure to subscribe, like, follow my socials, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye! Say bye, Wednesday!